I'm going to do kind of a greatest hit, so I want to apologize to a whole bunch of you.
Okay.
It's okay.
And I'm going to stop. And in between, I'm going to blab about a whole bunch of stuff, probably. Why do I have this up? I don't want to read that. Okay, I want to read that. There's a poem that I do, and I do it too much, and I did it last Tuesday, because I was trying to fill time. And I also do it for the first time I read at a venue. And it's the first time I'm reading here, so I'm going to do it here. And a lot of you have heard it before. It's called Remember the Crosses. In the desert southwest, they use small white crosses on the roadside to mark the spot of a tragic death, a traffic accident, or someone who died of exposure. I'm sure driver education teachers scowl and point to the side of the road saying, remember the crosses. Here in the Midwest, we are less sentimental. The holes in our guardrails are repaired nearly overnight. There's an old woman at the Cactus Bar and Grill. She inhales deeply on her schnapps. Her life is lonely and sad. She picks up her purse, slinging it over her shoulder like it was a cross of Jesus Christ himself. She walks stiff-legged to the door, and her life is so tragic that little white crosses appear everywhere she goes, following her home and springing up like needles on the floor that she paces at night. Across that sad, dry country, there is so much misery that the very earth of the desert moans, creating a resonance on every roadside, which is a signal across the rest of the nation which says, remember the crosses, making crosses appear throughout the land, like mushrooms on your lawn, bare one day, there the next. Everywhere there's a hint of tragedy. A little white cross springs from the earth, like Arlington National Cemetery, gone mad. I look, and I find myself surrounded by a sea of many crosses and names, dates, places, all familiar to me. Echoing in my head, there is one phrase, remember the crosses. Although I close my eyes and ears, I hear, remember the crosses. And before me, a shady and indistinct cross appears with my name and date of birth written on it. I want to run away. I want to make this magical vision that allows me to see all the pain and the suffering fade away. You see, I've always wanted to make someplace where people could come and hang their crosses by the door, a place where sadness and tragedy cannot penetrate. But this is something that I cannot do, for I was born in the Midwest, and in the Midwest, we are less sentimental. Remember that.
Yeah, hey there, except in Wisconsin.
But, yeah. But when I wrote that,
I've
I
seen
didn't
a
have
lot
those
of there in Wisconsin.
and they even have them around here now.
Yeah,
They didn't used to.
we've become more sentimental.
Maybe. You think so? I think we become more cynical. Have you ever seen this? Did you see this?
No.
This was the first put-in-head press book. It's called 4-Star Daydream. We were sitting around trying to think of a name for a book, and it's like, we want something with daydreams and rainbows, and there's 4 of us, the 4 rainbows. It's like, no, the 4 dreams, no. And it pops into my head the Pink Floyd song Money. New car, caviar, 4-star dream. I think I'll buy me a football team. And boom, 4-Star Daydream popped into my head, and everybody liked it, so we came out with 4-Star Daydream. There was 4 of us in it. It was the first put-in-head book, and it was typeset on a Sears typewriter. A daisy wheel typewriter, if you remember what a daisy wheel typewriter was.
Yes, I do.
And my sister, and we didn't have the table of contents. My sister looked at it, and my sister typed it out for us. We had written all the poems out, and then we decided what order to put them in, and we taped it up with tape and Xeroxed it, and that's what came up with the copy that we sent to the printer.
How primitive.
Yeah. You thought I knew what I was doing? People think I know what I'm doing now. I mean, and I don't. And it went and it got a review, in Open Mic magazine, which was the precursor to Letter X, that Mark Smith's wife was publishing. And Henry Krantz from Erie Street Press reviewed the book, and he had said it read like last night's late undigested pizza, literary schlock, the agonies of youth squirted onto a page, and I wrote in this book that I wanted to like make my mark in Chicago poetry, and he said, this will give them a slice of the Chicago literary salami, a bunch of hangers-on and bad poets, and occasionally a good piece. And he said, there was one good poem in here, where Getchik plays with the image of a knife. And this was the one good poem. Well, he didn't say good, okay. He also said, it's a good book because all of the poems are short. That's one of the best things he said about it. But here's one that he mentioned. It's called The Best of Sex and Violence. I saw a movie today, The Best of Sex and Violence. And when a child takes her daddy's shotgun and blows away her playmates, we all wonder and cry. The best of sex and violence. Yeah, this is also the first poem I ever got published in our local Cicero newspaper, and all the nuns and all the cops got to see it. So, and when a girl is raped on a lonely L platform and her body hurled in front of a speeding train to be broken to pieces, we all wonder and cry. The best of sex and violence. When I take love and I hold it like a knife against your neck until a thin red line appears separating us. When I take love as something that I could use instead of something I must give. When I take love and hold it against your like a knife against your neck until a thin red line appears separating us, I wonder and cry. The best of sex and violence. I can hardly wait for part 2. That was the first poem I ever got published.
Okay.
Want to take a look at it?
What other poets are in there?
What?
What other poets are in there?
Ed Pinkowski, who won the Poem for Wausau poetry contest, and he went to it's a sister city of Chicago, and he went there to represent Chicago. My sister Karen Getchik, and this guy George Gorecki, who's had some rhyming poetry published here and there, and he's had a lot of articles published about painting and chemical preparation of metal for painting. And he was always the stickler, like Vincent the poet.
Yes,
It's not a poem unless it rhymes.
and shines.
So we went back and forth about is this a poem? Is that a poem?
It's prosody.
The reason we did this book is because we all knew we were genius poets and nobody wanted to publish us. Want to pass it around? And nobody wanted to publish us, so we said, let's publish our own book of poetry.
And it got a bad review.
Like I said, it was literary schlock, reads like late nights, undigested pizza and stuff like that. I'm wearing my father's watch. It doesn't fit very well, and it's not quite my style. But it's my father's watch. It always seems to run a bit too fast for me. I can't seem to catch up. But it's my father's watch. It would be strange if I ever was to take it off. The color of my skin with a silver white ring around my wrist, as fresh as the day I was born. Sometimes it's heavy. Sometimes it's so heavy it pulls down my arms, pulls down both my arms, so I can no longer fight against what it wants me to do. You see, it's my father's watch. And I don't as much wear it on me as it wears on me. It's my father's watch. I spilled. No? We spilled whiskey on my poetry.
Yeah, that was me. Sorry about
I
that.
think that was a great Hemingway quote.
Can't let it go to waste.
I spilled some whiskey on my poetry.
Oh, did you ever read Hemingway's poetry?
Yeah, no, he wasn't a poet.
Yeah, he
But,
wasn't.
That's why it wasn't. That was
Yeah.
a bad joke. I'm sorry.
Hemingway is one of those people. I read his stuff and I either adore it or hate it. And I do see him as one of the greatest authors of the past 100 years, but I like A Farewell to Arms was
Uh-huh.
beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually,
Movable Feast.
yes,
Okay.
very good.
I'm sorry. I just have to.
You didn't like Movable Feast?
Hemingway is my he's my soul.
He is?
He's mine as well.
Yeah.
But there, as with anything, there's an upside and a downside.
Absolutely.
And-
he does do the
and-
run-on sentences.
And
sometimes.
I mean, like I was reading For Whom the Bell Tolls. I was reading it. I couldn't make it all the way through. I got to page like 500 and whatever, and I just closed it and put it on the shelf and never read it again.
God, my heart hurts. My heart hurts. It's okay. It's okay.
But again,
It's like liking Dave Matthews Band. You know, if you love Hemingway, you have to get used to people hating on certain things. That's completely. I'm sorry, completely interrupted you, but
He has that poem about piling up a pile of shit in memorial to who is he encouraging? Young man, let us build a pile of defecation. Let us build a pile of defecation in honor of who was I can't remember. You don't have his first book here, do you?
I think I've read pretty much all of Hemingway, but that's not ringing any bells to me.
It was in his first book, which was 7 poems and 2 stories or something like that.
Okay.
And there's just really bad poetry there. Sorry.
No, he was no poet.
Honestly,
He
I
was no
was
poet.
actually very recently surprised because I got a copy of
Hemingway's Life.
no, God, what the hell was it? It was his first novel, and I can't
I
remember the
think
name.
all of
it.
us have the technology.
Oh, but there's a thing called Books and Print right there, and it lists all of Hemingway.
I can't remember the name
Hemingway's
of it
first
for the
novel. I
life
mean,
of
this
me.
is just fodder for.
It was a small paperback, and for the first, the whole thing was probably only, I don't know, 120, 100 pages, something like that.
Uh-huh.
The Sun
And-
Also Rises.
Yeah.
No,
Which is
no,
my
no,
favorite-
no. That's one of my favorites. That wasn't
That
it
is
by
my
any
favorite
means.
novel of all time. This is the
I
first
as
thing
well.
that came up.
His first book was a poetry book with a couple short stories in it.
It was a small paperback that he did, and God, I can't remember the name of it.
Portrait of an Artist as a Young Dog.
No,
The Great Gatsby.
no.
Oh my God! Come on.
Fitzgerald.
That's not
What does the fox say? Yeah, no, that's absolutely not accurate. No, his
But-
debut
but-
novel,
but-
The Sun Also Rises,
The
was
Sun Also
published
Rises.
in 26.
No, that wasn't it.
What do you
Well,
think
that's
it
what
was?
Google says.
It
What does the
it
Google
might have been a
say?
short
Google
story.
says The Sun Also Rises.
Okay, what's the next one?
The sun also sets.
Very well done.
And I'm so sorry, I've completely derailed this.
That's okay.
This is horrific.
That's okay.
People say Hemingway, and I just come out of the
People are getting
woodwork.
bored when I read for 3 hours.
No, but
While you're looking it up, I'll do another poem.
the first like 60 pages of this book, I'm just like, oh God,
What was it about?
I want to blow my brains out.
Okay.
And then it got
He
to
probably felt the same way.
yeah. Well, no, he said I wrote this whole book in
Wow,
3
too
days.
soon.
Okay.
And he's like, honestly, I'm surprised at the success of it and how well it's done because I wrote the whole freaking thing in 3 days. And again, like the first 60, 70 pages of it, I was just like, oh God, I
The sun
want to
also
die.
rises?
Okay.
No.
This has to-
Solomon stood embarrassed, his sword suspended over a child caught between a mother and the state. Montrose Avenue Police Station, an average of 120 kids each night, with facilities and beds for 80. The remainder of the children sleep on the floor. 8 children found abandoned on a south side run-down rat-infested apartment. Reports say they had not eaten for 3 days. But someone has a plan. There is no wisdom here. Solomon walked away in frustration, flinging his sword of justice to the side of the road. But you see, someone has a plan. I have lived my life through Watergate and Whitewater. I started with the man from Camelot, lived through the man from Hope, and in between have been a series of plans which has not given me much of either. See, to me, politics is Watergate. War is not the techno-babble of the Persian Gulf, but the futility and the abandonment of Vietnam. You see, I remember that. I'm from the real lost generation, caught halfway between the baby boomers and the X generation. I have never felt anything was really worth the struggle. The battles of the 60s were over. I grew up in the 70s, for Christ's sakes. The sword of Solomon sits on the side of the road, and we cannot wield weapons of such worth. The heroes of my generation are Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, and Donny Osmond. We're the generation that didn't do anything. And what of wisdom? Where are the real heroes? Solomon sits silently chuckling on the corner at the end of the bar in some somewhere nowhere spot in this country, getting sufficiently shit-faced to ruminate on my remaining American experience. So what was the Hemingway novel? I can't remember. Oh, okay. I was pausing so we could you guys look it up.
No,
Well,
the thing that was, like I said, the
You're
first...
a poet, he wasn't.
Granted.
Yes, we.
Okay,
but he was very obviously about not being a poet.
I've also written novels. And the thing that was, like, the first, 60 pages of it made me want to vomit. And then after that, I was like, good God, this is brilliant.
Okay.
And it took this sudden turnaround, and it was just... let me see if I can find it.
Do androids dream of electric sheep?
Oh, that's...
wow.
Was that
Ooh, that was a snap.
No.
That was in Hemingway? Okay.
No.
It's called Omaha. I wrote this after I missed a poetry reading in Omaha by like half an hour. And then I went to Lincoln, Nebraska and came back and missed another reading by half an hour. And I said Jeff Helgeson. Oh, Jeff Helgeson is a poet I published, poet and author. The only fiction book that Puddin had published. It was called Thresholds. That was the only fiction book poet Puddin had ever published. It occurs on December 31st, 1999, and it follows a bunch of people and what they're doing at the turning of the millennium. I had Jeff read that book at a coffee house, the entire book, the day before on New Year's Eve. So he spent like 6 hours there reading the book. And then I sent Jeff to Omaha. This is what it has to do with this poem. I sent Jeff to Omaha for a publication event and said, Jeff, do you want to go there? They really want you there. And the guy quit at the bookstore. Jeff showed up there and there was 2 people. He drove all the way to Omaha to do a reading for 2 people about his book. And this isn't about that reading, but it's about Omaha. Oh, Omaha, I love you for your plainness. I once knew a girl from Omaha. She was exotic, exciting, and somehow simple, somehow sexy in her simplicity. She was one of your lost children. I saw that girl the other day. She did not seem that simple anymore. Oh, Omaha, I love you for your black and whiteness. Oh, Omaha, I love the way your lights shine at night with no pretense or apology. I love how ugly you are and do not apologize for. Oh, Omaha, I love you because I have not shared your tastes, likes, or dislikes. And oh, Omaha, I love you because I can no longer enjoy the simple things that you are. It's not that simple anymore, and I am caught in the middle. It's not that simple anymore, and I can't enjoy the simple things. Oh, Omaha, I remember what I once was, and think of what you could have been to me. All this indecision in my life, it's such a waste of time. I can't really take it anymore. You see, it's only Omaha, and it's left or right, and it's black or white, and there's no shades of sadness or happiness in between in anything you do. It's only Omaha. It either is or it isn't. It's either on or off. You turn the light on, you turn the light off, and you don't need to put dimmer switches in your life. It's only Omaha, and indecision does not exist here. There are no doubts. It's either on or off. It's either left or right, dark or bright. Oh, Omaha, I will not measure out my life in coffee spoons. I will not debate eating a peach. I will swallow it or spit it out. I will digest it or shit it out. These are the rules. It's only Omaha. The air is so clear here. Don't dim the lights for the neighbors. Don't dim the lights for anyone. It's pretty simple. It's black or white. They don't paint things gray in Omaha. Take it or leave it. Ambiguity has no address in this town. But tonight, oh Omaha, I am on your outskirts. And there is a stop sign, and I come to a rolling stop. And oh Omaha, I want to run your yellow lights.
Very good.
The torrents of spring.
What?
The torrents of spring.
The torrents of spring.
What year?
I don't even...
1962. It was his first major non-fiction or fictitious publication,
Okay.
and it was a novella.
Torrents of spring.
And like I say, first like 60, 70 pages, you're like, I want to burn this. And then you get to the end and you're like, wow, that was brilliant.
Maybe he reread it as his last novel.
Well, like I say, he himself claimed that it was rather funny. Are you familiar with that piece?
I've read it, yeah.
Well, it's funny because at the end of every chapter, he's like, "Dear reader, I've written this in the past 35 minutes. Please forgive me for my lacking. I hope it will get better." And it goes.
He literally lived what he said, which was an egomaniac with an inferiority complex.
Right.
Like,
right.
and in his last pages, what you're saying, like apologizing before everything you do, is a perfect example of that. I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to talk about our writings in 50 years like this?
I hope they do. I hope somebody talks about what I've written.
Well, if at the rate I'm going, I'm not going to be around for much longer. So my stuff should be worth a fortune in like a year or so.
A year or so? How many copies of the book do I still have?
I mean, you can put that up on eBay and just go, hey, wow.
Okay. Nothing. I should make you sign a whole bunch of books now, in case you're not around. Okay, I'm going to do The Elephants. The Elephants is about me as a writer. It's about me as a writer. I used to write about, weird animals in the swamp and never wrote very much about myself. And this is one of the first poems I wrote about myself. And it's a 20-30 minute series of poems, and this is the first poem. Damn this logic that saves me and contains me and sets me free. Damn this logic which has built this place, which has plenty of doors and windows, but the windows do not open and I have no key to unlock any of the doors. I've searched every room looking for a key, but can find none. And the worst part is that I sit by the window and I watch the parade pass me by. It goes around and around my house, never stopping. Poets and artists, writers and actors, and I can only wonder who is leading the grand march. It all seems to be going nowhere because it never stops or pauses. outside our buildings with windows blazing, parties going